Okay, hi. Here's my presentation on the harms of vaping. My video isn't working, so I hope this is good enough. In this lesson, we're going to talk about what's in a vape, the effects of the vape on the body, and vape prevention awareness. So what's in it? Nicotine is a highly addictive substance and affects brain development. Propylene glycol is a food additive. Carcinogens or cancer-causing chemicals such as formaldehyde, acrolein, cadmium, and diacetyl and diethylene glycol are all chemicals that can cause irreversible lung damage and other respiratory diseases like bronchitis. Metals include nickel, tin, and lead. Benzene is an organic compound that is found in car exhaust. So that's all what's inside of a vape. There's a lot more, but those are the main points. Nicotine can disrupt brain development, interfere with long-term cognitive functioning, and increase the risk of various mental and physical health problems later in life. A study on mice found that one vaping session increased heart rates and caused the arteries to stiffen and the inner lining of the arteries and the endothelium to stop working properly in smokers. The endothelium is responsible for maintaining the correct dilation and constriction of the blood vessels and protects the tissues from toxic substances and regulates inflammation and blood clotting processes. Endothelial dysfunction is involved in the development of cardiovascular disease. Data suggests that due to the chemicals listed, vaping has been linked to chronic lung disease and asthma. The carcinogens found in vapes can be cancer-causing carcinogens. Nicotine travels from the bloodstream to the brain and affects neural pathways in our rewards pathway by attaching to receptor neurons that make us feel good. This occurs when dopamine is released. When you smoke, this reaction occurs and makes you think you need another to feel the effects of dopamine. Each new receptor is created and craves nicotine. When you quit, there's no nicotine to bind to these receptors unless dopamine is created because the reward pathway is no longer stimulated, and then this leads to withdrawal symptoms. But over time, there will be less and less receptors created that crave nicotine, and the brain will go back to normal. Prevention awareness, one of them is the Real Cost campaign, which is a government-run campaign geared towards educating at-risk youth about the harms of smoking and nicotine and everything that comes in it. They use commercials and ads on TV, the internet, and social media. Another preventative technique that has been used was a government ban. The FDA created an enforcement policy on the manufacture, distribution, and sale of unauthorized flavored cartridges for vapes. The only flavors allowed now are menthol and tobacco. This decision was an attempt to make vapes less appealing to younger crowds with the fruity flavors like mint and mango. Checking for understanding number 1, what is the FDA's campaign aimed towards at-risk youth called? If you picked B, the Real Cost, that's right. Checking for understanding number 2, blank is responsible for maintaining the correct dilation and constriction of blood vessels, protects tissues from toxic substances, and regulates inflammation and blood clotting processes. If you picked C, the endothelium, you're right. Checking for understanding number 3, which is the correct path of travel of nicotine when it enters the body. You picked B, respiratory system to the circulatory system to the brain. That is also correct. Good job. Hope you got a 3 out of 3. And here are my references.